Hi, my name is Debra R. Richardson of Debra R. Richardson LLC, and I work with you to help you clean up your vendor data, clean up your vendor processes so that you can pay the right vendor. Now, this week's Vendor Master File tip of the week is, are you required to collect the IRS Form W-9? And this would be from your vendors at the time of vendor setup, and in some instances, at the time you are making a change to an existing vendor. And so let's get started. Now, the short answer is no, and that is because for payments that will be reported on a 1099 MISC or 1099 NEC, which are typically the types of payments that we see in accounts payable, a signature on that form is not required, which means you don't really need to collect that form. And as a matter of fact, the IRS does allow you to obtain the tax ID, be it an EIN, an employer identification number, or an SSN, a social security number, via phone. But here's some reasons why I recommend that you do collect it. These are the best practices for why you should collect the IRS Form W-9, and there are three. The first one is that's the way you determine if they are reportable. So based on the tax classification that is selected on that W-9, that is how you know whether they are reportable. And so you do need to collect it. And think about all the times you've had to send that W-9 back and maybe back and forth when they selected LLC and did not identify whether it was an S Corp, a C Corp, or a partnership. Because as we know, if they selected S Corp or C Corp, they are not reportable. But if they selected P for partnership, they are reportable. So you do need to know what tax class the company is formed in, and then what they are recognized as with the IRS in order to know whether or not they are reportable. Also, it's support for due diligence. So let's say a vendor changes their name throughout the tax year. Now, technically, the IRS puts the onus on the vendors to let you know, but they don't always do that. And so if they are a reportable vendor and you file that with the IRS, or maybe if there is an audit, you will have support in the form of that W-9. And then also, hopefully you are doing that IRS 10 match before you set the vendor up or before you change an existing vendor to verify that the legal name and tax ID combination match IRS records. You take a screenshot of that, you save that along with the W-9, attach it to the vendor record or wherever you attach your supporting documentation for vendor setup, so that if there is an audit or if there is a change in that vendor from which the IRS imposes penalties, you may have be able to supply due diligence to say that at the time you set that vendor up, you did what you needed to do, which was collect the W-9 and also do the 10 match to show at that time it was valid. Now, the next thing is you want to verify that it is a real vendor. And we know that cyber criminals and fraudsters out here are trying to get into your vendor master file, either to change or to be added as a vendor so they can get those fake invoices paid. And so you want to make sure that you're always dealing with a real vendor. And the more obstacles or requirements you put in place, the more the cyber criminals and fraudsters will just give up and go to the next potential victim that is not asking for the requirements that you are asking for, and in this case, the IRS Form W-9. So these are the three reasons. It's probably definitely not all. You may have additional reasons that you want to collect the IRS Form W-9 during the vendor setup process or existing vendor changes, but these are at least three best practices of why you should collect it. Now, if you or your team would like some training on the IRS Form W-9, some examples by tax classification so that you and your team members know what to look for when accepting your vendor's W-9. I'll put a link in the description to a training that I hold the third Wednesday of every month on the IRS Form W-9 in the perspective of accounts payable and collecting that form and really what you should look for. And I believe I have 6 different examples of when you need to send those back, when you need to reject them. All right, so if you like more information on how to improve your vendor process, please go to my website at deborarrichardson.com for free tools and resources to avoid fraud, regulatory fines, and just overall bad vendor data. So good luck and be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell to be notified next Tuesday for the next Vendor Master File tip of the week.